Hello everyone, I wanted to make this commentary scripted so I don't go and run off on any rants, so it's not a super long video. So yeah, alright, Bungie released their weapon patch notes for Rise of Iron today, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not really happy with them. I'd like to keep this video shorter, because I have my live stream from yesterday going up as well today. So let's get right into the changes, shall we? Starting with the individual exotic changes, we have Fabian's Strategy, the Titan exclusive exotic auto rifle, receiving a nice buff. An increase of 16% to its base range and 44% to its base stability will make the weapon much easier to use and much more consistent in both PvE and PvP, as well as a new addition to the weapon where kills with it automatically reload a portion of the magazine. This also drastically increases its PvE potential, considering that it already has crowd control. You will be able to mow through hordes of weaker enemies with ease. Thorn is also getting some attention, not in a good way though. It will be receiving a 25% range nerf just to ensure that it doesn't become a problem like it did in year 1. I have already made a video to go up this weekend addressing Thorn and my overall opinion on if it's still a problem or not. That video will still go up, although it was made before I knew about the nerf. But I will say I think this change was unnecessary, and I hated Thorn more than most people in year 1, so that's saying something. What has quickly become the second most hated gun of all time in the Crucible is also getting some sizable changes. Universal Remote's exotic perk range bonus will be getting reduced by 75%. It's a crazy number, 75%, ensuring that it can no longer guarantee max shotgun range. It will also have an increased rate of fire, but with lower base damage. I was surprised that Bungie even acknowledged that the fact that Universal Remote was a primary and thus never really ran out of ammunition was the largest strength of the weapon, and yet they didn't nerf the weapon in the ammo category whatsoever. I think the nerf is a good step in the right direction. I just found that fact interesting. Dreg's Promise is getting a little help with an 8% boost to damage and an additional 3 rounds in the magazine, so just another burst. I don't think this will affect the gun in any significant way. Non-hit scan weapons suffer as a whole in Destiny, and there isn't that much that you can do about it. Touch of Malice is getting a nerf in the sense that the Titan's Bubble's Blessing of Light is now instantly cancelled by the damage dealt to the user by the exotic perk. This will significantly affect the Oryx fight for many in the Kingsfall raid, but nobody will be really doing that raid once Rise of Iron comes out anyway, so it's kind of whatever. Don't know if that change was needed or not, to be completely honest with you. Boolean Gemini is receiving what used to be Mida's built-in perk, high caliber rounds, making it a very effective counter to snipers in PvP. I'm not sure how I feel about this at the moment, especially with snipers as a whole getting nerfs later in these patch notes. No Time to Explain is also getting the built-in perk Headseeker to go with the theme of the weapon, which is obviously hitting headshots. Nothing too significant there. Now we come to the sniper rifles, which Bungie states are being used too effectively in both PvP and PvE, and that one family of sniper is outshining the rest, and that family being the 1000 yard stare, the LDR, and the longbow kind of type of sniper. They have decided to reduce the base damage of these sniper rifles by 6.95%, making that sniper unable to kill higher armored players in their added health supers in PvP. So Blade Dancers, Sunsingers, Sunbreakers, and Stormcallers will no longer be able to be killed in one headshot by 1000 yard stare, LDR, or longbow. They have also reduced the aim assist on the LDR and longbow to bring them in line with the 1000 yard stare and other snipers in that archetype. No Land Beyond will not be affected by this change. This at a glance is a horrible change. Now the only sniper that will be able to reliably kill Blade Dancers, Sunsingers, Sunbreakers, and Stormcallers in their super is the Black Spindle. And that sniper is already considered a cheese weapon in PvP because of how high its body shot damage is. With one fell swoop, Bungie has made an entire archetype of sniper obsolete, and there is no particular reason to use these snipers anymore over Black Spindle, Defiance of Yasmin, the Raid Sniper, Hereafter, Patience in Time, Glass Promontory, or other snipers that are higher rate of fire and lower impact, and I'm not a fan of this nerf whatsoever. Moving on from that disappointment, we have further disappointment, or glee depending on who you are. Bungie has decided to increase the flinch values when you are shot, the desired goal to enable you to not get blamed by snipers when you're putting 2 to 3 headshots in them with a pulse or a scout rifle. They describe the aim deflection or flinch value as being bumped up from 30 to 50% when you start to get shot, and with every following hit, the strength of the deflection increases until you hit 100%. The overall multiplier for this value per hit was only increased from 1.85 times to 1.9 times. I have to come at this change from both sides of the coin because I try to snipe on occasion, although I'm a much better shotgunner, and I often get flinched so hard even now before the patch that I cannot land a shot. But then, playing devil's advocate, I'm often confused when running my trusty Grasp of Malik or Suros PDX-45, and I put 2 full bursts into an enemy sniper's head before being decapitated by his longbow, which, by the way, every player under the sun seems to have besides me. We will have to see exactly how these changes pan out. Even more disappointment ensues when we hear that auto rifles aren't getting much change. A reduced magazine size for the bullet hose types will make those a bit easier to counter, but the 1.5% bump in damage from middle rate of fire auto rifles only is honestly a bit laughable. Bungie, in their infinite wisdom, also wants high rate of fire shotguns to come back into the equation so people can spray each other down again with little to no skill whatsoever. So they decrease spread while ADS and increase stability on the Titan exclusive shotgun Immobius, as well as reduce the spread angle penalty for full auto perk on shotguns without touching invective. Lastly, high and middle rate of fire shotgun damage values were both bumped up by 2%. For the middle and lower rate of fire pulse rifles, they wanted to give a little attention, so they increased the rate of fire of the Liudmadi pulse rifle, as well as another hilarious 2% damage buff to Nearwind's Mercy and Red Death style pulse rifles. Rounded up, that is, I think, a whopping 1 extra damage to the head per shot, totaling 3 per burst. Doesn't sound like much, that's because it isn't, and I don't know exactly why they bothered with this change at all, to be honest with you. I wanted my Red Death back, but by the looks of it, I won't be getting it back for at least one more patch cycle. My recommendation, don't even try either type of these pulse rifles in PvP. Hawksaw's, PDX-45s, and Grasps of Malak will eat your soul before you even get your opponent below half health. Something good coming out of this patch is sidearm viability. All sidearm types have been unified into a single archetype, with the higher rate of fire ones being bumped up by 7% damage, and the lower rate of fire ones being bumped up by 3% damage. Non-hit scan sidearms, however, received a nerf of 5% to their base damage, which I didn't really get that change. Maybe it's a typo, I'm not sure. But moving on, other changes include a half-meter addition to all sidearm damage points, or damage fall-off points, which is pretty much their range, and a minor increase in stability across the board, as well as a 20 to 30% damage buff in PvE, depending on the combat tier. So sidearms might become really good in raids, strikes, all that kind of stuff. For rocket launchers, the effective range of cluster bombs perk is being increased, and the grenades and horseshoes activation radius is being decreased from 1.3 meters down to 1 meter. Truth will not be affected by this change, however. Personally, I'm okay with this. Grenades and horseshoes is quite dominant with proximity detonation, but I think the change should apply to Truth and instead of shouldn't, and that's just my opinion. I think Truth is a little bit too powerful right now. A minor buff of 4% damage to bullet hose machine guns makes the pages, but that won't change much in my opinion. Hand cannons are not being touched in the patch itself, but Bungie does state that lower rate of fire hand cannons that are coming in Rise of Iron will have an advantage in their range stat, giving a major reason to choose those weapons. That is all for the weapons portion of the patch notes, and I'm overall disappointed. Doing the math, I don't think the auto rifles as a whole or lower rate of fire pulse rifles will become viable over bullet hoses, hawksaws, and grasps. We will have to wait and see what happens for a lot of the other changes, but the sniper changes stick out to me as well, as they have effectively completely devalued an entire type of sniper. And I might add, one that people have been relying on, collecting, and searching for god rolls on for quite some time. Not to mention the general flinch changes, making it far more difficult to snipe against the primaries that are already quite common in the game now. I'll most likely do another video to be released either tonight or tomorrow with the other changes, including perks, maps, game modes, and other general changes. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure you comment your thoughts about this patch. I will leave it linked at the top of the description on Bungie's website, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.